Okay, good. I meant to do that to record as well. And apparently, thank you so much for doing that. Oh, not that. Um, hold on one second. I don't know what I just did. There we go. I don't want to do, what is going on? So with that said, my name is Aisha Kreitz. We also have Theo Chino, who will be presenting, Tom Kennedy, actually Edwin. I'm going to take him off of here. He will be on. He may be able to speak or not, but he is in a meeting right now. And then Sharice Stuhler. So we will be the ones that will kind of be taking you through this presentation tonight. Okay. As you can see, these are the things that we're going to be going through tonight. All of us, will be tag teaming. There will be time for Q&A at the end of each session. So please have a pen and paper ready so that you can write down anything. We're going to try and keep the questions based on what we just went through. And then at the end, there'll be an open Q&A because we want to just get right through the whole training. And then anybody who has to leave can leave. Anybody who wants to stick around, and we can, answer some of maybe the in the weeds questions, different things like that. So please don't take it personally if we try to move it forward, but we really just want to make sure that we get to everybody and get through the whole presentation in a timely fashion and respect everybody's time. The committeeman, again, and you're also going to hear a precinct delegate or precinct man or precinct person, which is the official name. You'll see that throughout as well. But you're a committeeman. So that's kind of, they're all interchangeable. And we want to make sure. So here are the things that we'll go through in this first part. Okay. Oh. And let me just start with, the committeeman. So I always say it, right? Our founding fathers were brilliant. They gave us, we the people, the power as a individual. And this is like a civic duty that you have. It is a committeeman is the lowest level of elected official. This is an elected position. So you have to run for it. What generally happens is nobody else is running for the position. Or there's nobody else in that spot. There's a lot of empty committee seats. And so you just kind of get in, right? But sometimes there are, I challenged somebody to get on my committee because my committee was full. And so I went to get in there. But this is the structure, basically, you'll see here, right? You have the National Committee, Republican, Democrat, conservative, sorry. Yeah, conservative, and of course we have all the other Green parties, socialist, all the other parties. Then you have your national chairman, you have your state committee, you have your state chairman. Each county also has a committee, and then your county chairman. And within your county committees, we're just doing the brief overview. So those of you who might know more about the other structures in here, don't worry about it. That's a 201 class. And then depending on where you live, you can have a town or city leader. Not every county does that, but some do. And then you have the town and city chairman, and then you have the committee, and then you have the district committeeman. And as you see, that's where we are, right? That's what we're going to be talking about. And each one of you, when you become a committeeman, again, as I said, it's that fundamental piece. It's a fundamental unit of how our system works. Okay. And without it, basically nothing else runs, right? When we're talking about who elects, how do we get the people in the general election? How do we come up with those people? That's the committeeman, right? We're voting on it from that point, and whether or not we want to endorse a candidate, not endorse a candidate, right? So candidates can run but not be endorsed. Sometimes that happens, but it's the committeeman, right, that that choose this. So again, it's an integral part of our political system that is not utilized. Each one of us within your precinct or district, depending, you will represent anywhere from 50 people to maybe 1,000 people, right? New York City has a whole lot more. Where I live, I think I represent maybe like 115 people or something like that. You know what I mean? So again, it just depends on where you live and how that's going to break down. You're elected to two terms, and by election, you have to pass your petitions. We're going to get into that later. In New York now, it is separated. Some people are on even years, some people on odd years. You have to find out in your county if you're going to be passing petitions this year or not to be on your committee. But you can still be on your committee and not necessarily be a voting member until it's time for you to pass. And again, we'll get into that as well. Did Cherie or Theo, is Tom on here? Has Tom made it on?
So I just kind of want to jump back because for those that maybe aren't as familiar and don't have a lot, so in understanding it, I'm really basic in layman terms. And just explain how your election district works. Essentially, most of us understand that we have like an assembly district. So your election district in your committee, what she's referring to there, is essentially a little mini assembly district. So your towns are all broken up into little mini districts. And so that's what she's referring to. It's not based on what you would see in a voting block. It's based on how it's broken in your town.
Right. Yeah. So as you see here, right, most of you are probably familiar with your assembly districts. Within each assembly district, you have a legislative district and then the election district, or your ED. And again, that's where you come in. We already mentioned, right, not all seats are filled. Some seats are open. You can go to your board as an elected. So one of the things about being committeeman, you have to be registered to a party, right? So you have to be a registered Democrat, a registered conservative, a registered Republican. What do we have? Green Party, social. No, we don't have a Green Party anymore. Okay, yeah, because we're trying to get away with not having third parties. But but we won't get into that either. And so you can be a registered independent, right? So if you're independent on here, that's fine, but you aren't going to be able to be on the committee. Okay, you can't do that. So that's one of the reasons why love or hate a particular party, you find what's closest to you and you register for it. So then you could become a committeeman or a precinct man. Okay. If you don't, you can't be on there. Okay. Now, as you see here, you don't have to live in the district or the election district that you want to run in. You do have to live in the assembly district. So again, when you're looking at, oh, hey, so again, I'm going to use where I live. I live in the town of Ridgeway. I live in Medina, right? But my assemblyman or my assembly district, there's a large district, and I can go look at my assembly district, and as long as I live within the confines of that, I could go and be a committeeman for anywhere within that assembly district. Personally, I like to be, right, you want to represent your neighborhood, or you should, right? So I'm a committeeman in my election district. There wasn't an open seat in my district. I didn't care for, and neither did most of the people on our committee care for the person that was there. We did have a primary, and I wound up winning. That doesn't always happen. So you can do that, but it's better to find the open seat if you can, right? Especially if people are doing a good job. So that's the basics. And then we're going to, and this is for Western or anywhere that's not the boroughs. Okay. So we're going to get into the New York City. Theo's going to do that next. But before we do that, I just wanted to make sure if you wanted to add anything, Cherie, to what we just went over before we move into the New York City aspect of things and then come back.
So the only thing I want to say is I'm like I said, I'm the layman person of like I know nothing. Talk to me like I'm, a kindergartner in this because it is a lot and it's overwhelming. Don't let it overwhelm you as you hear like the different districts and things like that and what you can do. It's not as complicated as it's made to sound. And essentially, when she's talking about you have to be registered in the party to be on a committee, well, it's nothing different than if you wanted to go vote in a primary for any of our candidates running. So it follows kind of the same principles and rules as that. And if you can just wrap your head around that and not so much the lingo, that helps you to understand where you're moving.
Yeah. And I see we have Phyllis on as well. She's eating. I'm not going to call her to the spot, but when we get to Q&A, she might be a great person for us to be able to just to say hi. She is a chairman for one of the women's Republican clubs here in New York State. And if feel
She's
free.
the president.
She's the president, yes. So feel free to chime in at
Hello,
any
ladies.
time.
I will take off the video so you don't have to watch me eat. But yes.
Oh, you're fine. I just noticed I was gonna see, and I was scrolling through, and I'm like, oh wait, I better not call her out. But again, so we have some people on here that have some experience, and so again, that's an important part. So
very good.
Our next part here, again, New York City structure. Remember, so this is going to be different, right? I showed you kind of this structure here, right? It's for all parts of New York except for the boroughs. Once you get into the boroughs, they have their own special stuff, and Theo is going to kind of dive into that for us. Well, and as well, oh, sorry, and you can introduce yourself. He also has a program that kind of helps people do some of the other things we're going to talk about later on with Rep My Block. So he represents that. Go ahead, Theo.
Well, I'll leave the Rep My Block for after you explain the petitioning. I'll just go over very quickly over the New York City structure, because in the upstate, outside New York City, the election district, you have the state committee and your county committee kind of merge into one, where in New York City, there is a layer that is added called the district leader. And here, for example, Edwin de la Cruz is a district leader for the Republican Party. So because we are such a massive board or a city where each county committee represent about 2,000 voters, we are organized. They organize us under a district leadership. You removed the presentation.
I'm getting it back. I'm so sorry.
I was using your spreadsheet where exactly, where we have a board called the district leader, and basically the district leader are there to organize us, the county committee people, to organize. So it is important for every district leader to have a group of people who will run for committee member. And just as it is outside New York City, the committee member are in charge of electing everybody in the Democratic Party at the county level. Basically, the chair of the party, the treasurer of the party, the secretary of a party, and basically really looks like a nonprofit. A nonprofit that has a chair, a secretary, a treasurer, a board. So what the county committee member do is really elect the board of the Democratic Party, and the district leader are there to help us organize in districts. So that's the only difference that we have from the outside New York City versus New York City. So it is equally important to run for those county committee position in the Democratic Party, in the Republican Party, the Conservative Party, Working Family. I'm not sure how they work really, but they're supposed to follow. I believe they use judicial district as their boundaries. But
yes, yep. And as well, within. So our county committees that are outside of the New York City structure, though, again, your town committee has a treasurer, has a, you know, chairman, has a secretary, has those things, but that's within each town. And then your county committee outside of New York City is different. And that's really who goes and helps to elect. This is like Republican and conservatives. It goes to help to elect then part of your county committee, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Right?
and there is the part that the county leader or the county leader will decide who is the person that will represent the Republican or the Democratic Party at the Board of Election. So at every county Board of Election, you have a Democrat, a Republican. And so it is the county leadership that select and nominate that person. And then the county structure, the official county structure rubber stamp the decision of the party leader. So that is a very important thing in organizing good election. So we need to have good, non-corrupt commissioner to be at those positions for the election to be run smoothly.
Yes.
And in New
then,
York City, it is not always the case.
and as well in New York City, which is different than the rest of the state, is that each committee member, right? Like there is one committeeman and one committee woman position in each electoral district. That's only in the New York City area and the Democrat Party. Republic
Not anymore. That it was dropped in last year. That got changed.
Oh.
The subtle rule that got changed in Queens and in Brooklyn. In Manhattan, there were never the gender. We were never gendered.
Okay.
So it depends. Each county has its own specific rule for how they want the county committee membership to be established.
And when we're talking, and you can find that out for your county, right? So if you're a registered Republican, as I am, you know, each county has bylaws, and you want to know what your county bylaws are. So you go and you can add, if once you become a committeeman. I do not believe, at least not within the Republican Party, other parties, I'm not sure how that works, but as long as you are a member of your committee, you have the right to the county committee bylaws, and then whatever town or city that you're in will also have their bylaws, and they're usually very similar. But again, you want to make sure you know what the bylaws are, because that's how you function. Again, so whether or not, and again, the Republican Party doesn't have that male woman, and as Theo said, that just suddenly, I guess, got changed last year. So again, you want to, once you go to become a committeeman, if you get on the committee, you want to get your bylaws and read through them, know them backwards and forwards, so you understand how your committee is supposed to work and what's expected of you.
And and you can get them also by foiling, because technically each official party needs to submit their bylaws to the board, to their local county board of election. So a copy exists of the bylaws at the Board of Election, and you just ask for them.
And at this point, I do want to stop, just because that was, you know, a lot of information on just what was presented. Again, we have more stuff that's going to come up, but are there any questions from just what was presented so far?
I have one.
Sure.
So my name is Chip. I'm in Orange County. I just attended my first Republican committee meeting in the town of I'm the Wayanda committee, and we heard from. By the way, I should say, as an associate member, not so I'm not a full voting member yet, but I felt welcomed and everything else. My question is, is there any kind of a guideline for how often committees are supposed to meet?
Go ahead, Theo, if you want to take that.
I'll take that. The law says, the law is very specific. There shall be one meeting between September 16 and October 6. that needs to be for the election of the committee. After that, it is up to the bylaws. So the member needs to figure out how many times they want to meet. Some committee meets only once every 2 years and you're done.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Other meets 3 times a year.
Got it. Thank you.
So,
and like
a
we meet
typical-
once a month.
yeah,
I mean-
and we meet once a month too. So typically, I think you tend to do more once a month until the holidays interfere. That's kind of where, and then sometimes they might say an event is a meeting.
Yes.
And
Thank
Kim
you.
has her hand up.
Kim?
Hi. So I'm not at all understanding that New York structure, like what the difference is. That was very confusing. Sorry. And I would say I'm not an uneducated committee person structure, but that totally, I did not understand how that works in New York. So maybe somebody could go through that again.
Sure thing. Are you in the New York City area?
But as you know, I'm, in charge of Project Civica, so it's probably pretty important I understand it.
Yeah. No, I wasn't sure, just so that I knew,
No, I live in Buffalo area.
okay. So in the rest of the state, or
Like I get it through the rest of the state, but I didn't
okay,
understand that, like how that worked in New York City with the,
New York
that-
City,
hold on, let me share my screen again.
New York City has one layer more than the state.
okay,
So there is a layer where in the rest of the state, you do not have that district layer, that district leader layer. You have just county committee and the executive board. Within New York City, you have that district leader layer because there is so many, we're talking about 4,000 committee member in New York City.
right,
Per county.
right, it's
Which is
big.
a lot of people to organize. So they have there is this layer called the district leader layer that technically organize all those county committee member into groups of neighborhood per assembly district. So in one assembly district, the county committee will meet with their district leader, and then the district leader will take the issue of the county committee up to the executive level at the executive board.
So are there multiple district leaders?
Yes, there is a district leader per assembly. They could be even up to 4 district leader per assembly district, depending how it is broken on the Republican and Democratic side. So for example, on the Republican side, there is only 1 district leader, 2 district leader per assembly district in area where there is very few Republican. In area where there is a lot of Republican, like in the Bronx or in Queens, you can have up to 4, 6, or 8 district leader for 1 assembly district.
And there are multiple assembly districts in the county. Is that part of it?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
they're where you have your assembly. Those are the district where you elect assembly members. So they're the same assembly district number than where of your assembly district, your state assembly district.
Okay, I think I understand now. I was missing that piece about that there were multiples of them. I'm thinking like one person, which that's why it didn't make any sense to me. Okay, thank you.
Edwin here can explain what his job entail dealing with the Republican in his district.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he can, he was on another meeting and if he can jump in, I'm sure he will. But, and also though, the difference, right? So Theo, your guys is in the New York City, boroughs area as well. You guys have your executive board, right?
Yes.
Which your executive board is different than so wait, let me say this different. Your executive board is your county committee.
Yes,
Right.
Is the executive board of the county committee, and the district leader, when they meet together, they're the executive board of the county committee itself. So basically, in the Democratic side in Manhattan, we have 80 district leader who represent 4,000 county committee member. So they meet the district leader from every par or every assembly district, meet with their county committee, and then they go to the executive, the district leader go to the executive committee and organize the life of the party and report back at the district level. In meeting, they call divisional, but that's for Manhattan, for example.
Right. And in the rest of the state, as we were saying, so your committee, so you have a town committee or a city committee, right? Depending, you live in Buffalo, Buffalo has the different towns, or, you know, again, somebody can pick whatever city, Syracuse, whatever, right? You live in DeWitt. And so DeWitt is a city within Syracuse, right? And so that's its own committee, and they have however many committeemen, you know, that to represent those people. But they're not part of the county or executive board, right? You have one person that will be on that city committee, right? And usually it's the chairman, and in some places they have what is called a city leader that would be the person that actually goes and answers to your county committee. So it's just a little bit different, right? Like New York City, again, as he said, like no, I don't know, you're not going to have 2,000 members of a committee in any place, right? Rochester, New York, which is large, you know, one of the top 5, right? In the city of Rochester, I believe there's like maybe 150 committee men, right? Maybe 200 max, right? So you're not going to have all of these other members, right? It's just a committee of 200 people. Then, right? So that's where you would come in. You're going to want to get on one of those 200 seats. Where I live, we have 15 committee seats. That's it. I'm one of 15 because I live in a rural area. And so I'm one of 15 for my area. And that's it. That makes up our whole committee for the town of Medina. Okay. And within that, our chairman is on the executive team in the county, which is the county committee, right? And so different language, and I hope that makes sense, right? So the New York City just goes off into its own, again, probably because there's so many people.
At the end of the day, every position is very important.
Very important.
And each one is a lot of fun if you take it with a grain of salt. You are able to influence the people, you influence the party, you can influence your ideas on your belief of what the party should do.
That's
Whether
right.
you are listened, well, that depends on how good an influencer you are. And this is real life influencer versus Instagram influencer.
Way to burst our bubble.
Well, and let's go to this next section.
And Kim, I saw your hand raised still. So did we answer everything?
Yeah, so I'll put it down, sorry.
Okay.
All right. And so let's go into this next part real quick. The responsibilities of the committeeman, right? Is generally speaking, 1 to 2 hours a month, and then every 2 years, depending on when your county or your, you know, town passes petitions, which we're going to get into in a little bit. That's your minimum, right? So Theo said something great, right? It's a lot of fun to be a committeeman. And if you're a good committee person, right? Just like if you're a good elected official, right? If you see your elected official, they come out, you know, we always say that they come out just when it's election time, get their vote from you, and you never see them again, right? You could be that kind of committee person, and a lot of people are, to be honest. They just come and you might not ever see them, because when you're passing petitions, what we're going to get into later, you'll see, like, for me to get on my committee, I need 12 signatures. If you have 12 friends that are in your district, you know, 12 neighbors, I could go to the same 12 people every year and never talk to anybody else. And it happens all the time. But is that me being a good committee person, right? So again, this is minimum time commitment because not everybody has it. And if that's all you have is to make one meeting once a month for an hour and that's it, and so you can be that influencer, take it, right? But if you can be better, which is what, again, 201 and 301 comes into, that's
I
kind
think part of the job of the committee, though, is to understand that most of us all talk to our neighbors anyways. So even if it's not necessarily the district that you were assigned to in your committee, if you were ended up assigned to one, but you are bringing back concerns that are bettering your neighborhood, then you're still effectively doing your job, even if it's only on that 1 hour a month attending that meeting, because you can bring those neighborhood concerns back. So I think sometimes we get into it a little bit too much. And if you're new, like I said, I'm the layman person. Don't let that scare you away because bringing the neighborhood concerns are equally as important.
Yes. And as you can see here, kind of what she was just talking about, right? If you want to go above and beyond the minimum, which of course is great, but please, I mean, I can't stress this enough. I started off literally, right? If you see here, you don't have to make every meeting, right? Once a month, it's usually about an hour is the meeting. And again, you have to read your bylaws. Some of them, like you can miss a few and that's fine. Or like Theo said, I guess in New York City, they just meet once every couple years and that's it. That's crazy to me. But hey, if that's what the bylaws say and it's okay, then, you need to know that, right? But if the bylaws say you can miss one meeting and if not, they can get rid of you, then you need to know that as well. But beyond the time commitment, right? Keeping in touch with those that you represent, recruiting more Republicans, prioritize your voters, and vote in primaries. Your primary vote as a committee person or not is probably the most important vote that anybody makes. Okay. Which is why if you're not registered for a party, you should be, because those primaries are what get people into the general election. And when everybody goes, who are these people that are in the general? All of these candidates suck. It's because nobody voted in the primary and somebody got pushed through in the primary. And this is what you're stuck with in the general. And you're like, oh, lesser of two evils. That's our fault as citizens for not registering with your party as a party so you can vote in your primary, and B, get on your committee and say, hey, these are the type of people that we want to represent us. I'm talking to my neighbors. I'm talking to the people. Here's the issues. This is what's important to them. And now you can go in there and you can be the advocate for good candidates that represent the values of whatever your neighborhood, whatever your election district is that you're representing, right? The other thing, again, these are all things beyond the minimum time commitment, right? Helping candidates, putting up, sending, you can hear my grandbaby in the back, I'm sorry. Putting out signs, all of those things, becoming an election inspector. A lot of times there's not enough election inspectors. And again, this is just 101. We're going through it very quickly. If you want questions, we can either answer at the end or you can reach out to all of us. Please, Cherie, Theo, Phyllis, put your contact information in the chat so that we can make sure that if anybody wants to reach out to anybody, that they can with additional questions. Help on committee events. Those committee events, right? I mean, a lot of those are a lot of fun. All of these things are fun because I love politics, but whatever. And then you can also run for a position on the committee, right? A leader, a chair, a secretary, a chairman, vice chairman, right? Each committee has, as I said, it's like a nonprofit. It is a club. It's a Republican club, Democrat club, conservative club. These are private clubs. Yes, they can keep you out of the club. You aren't entitled to be in the meeting. They can have open meeting. They can go into an executive session. So it's very important that we do that. Now, the other, as we go into petitions that we were talking about, that how can you get on your committee practically? And there's two ways. You can either do petition process or you can be appointed. Okay. And we're going to talk about that. So, and again, this is also, you're going to see some differences between New York City and the rest of the state. Theo is also, he's going to bring up a program that he has called Rep My Block. I think right in here is probably a good time for that he'll discuss for those people. Now, when you're getting your petitions, so to get on your committee, right, first you want to find out when your committee meets in your town, right? Who's the chairman of your committee, right? You want to go in order, right? There's a proper order. You find out who the chairman is. You reach out to them. Hey, when is your meetings, right? Or if you know somebody who's on the committee already, hey, when do you guys have your meetings? You get invited. Most committees, and again, it's different. You have to know your bylaws. You have to go to 2 meetings. You go to the 2 meetings, and then you like pledge, right? And say, oh, I want to, and there's motions, everything runs on Robert's Rules of Order, unless there's something in the bylaws that says different. And you'll say, hey, I want to be on the committee. If there's an open position or an open seat, right, for you to go on, sometimes they'll say, hey, there's an open one here. Why don't you run for this one, even if it's not in your area, right? And then when it comes time to pass your petitions, the committee chairman will give you the petition. And then you go out and you get your signatures for yourself and or other candidates. So, and again, we'll get into that more. So that's where you get your petitions from. If your committee does not give you a petition for yourself, you can reach out to one of us, or again, this is where Theo will come in, and and we can help you to get a petition, so that you can still be able to participate again. And some committees are more friendly than others. And I'll just leave that at that, right? So hopefully you live in a place where they're willing to give you the petition, even if it's in a district that already has somebody, right? Again, it's just like if you're running against somebody who's already in office, right? They might be like, that's my friend. I don't want you to run against them. Maybe they won't give it to, whatever.
Most of the time, though, you're not going to run into that, at least
Correct.
outside of New York City, because most of the time you can have 4 people in the same election district.
Yep.
So you're not going to run into having to go against anybody or any of that.
Right. And then again, and so they'll give you a petition, they'll get you a walking list, right? So for the district, tell you where you have to have. When you're going out and doing that, this is the canvassing part of it when you're getting your position, hold on, let me put this down. When you're getting your petitions, you want to have a clipboard, have a few pens, especially people with germs nowadays, right? Maybe some wipies so that you can show the people, look, I wiped it off, because we're living in that day and age now. And you go up to the door, introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Aisha Kreitz. I'm running for, I'm a Republican. My list here says that you are a registered Republican, and I would like to be on the committee. And again, oftentimes you'll have also other candidates for them to sign. With the candidates, you just want to be clear, and yourself as well, right? You say, hey, this isn't you voting for the candidate. This is saying that they have the right to be on the ballot, so that in come November, they're going to vote for them, right? So, and you just want to be clear. And again, we can get into that a little bit more. And then you want to make sure you verify that you're talking, the name. It says, hey, John Smith, you're John Smith. Yes. Oh, okay. And then you deliver your message, have them sign the petition. Most people will. And if they don't, say, oh, thank you so much. Or say, hey, is there anything that I can answer for you? They might want to talk to you a little bit more, right? Because again, you're asking them to sign something. Be ready with whatever concerns that you have. Why do you want to be on the committee? Why do you want to represent them? And then at the end, right, and you tell them, say, I want to have the chance to run. And that's it. Explain, that you're not voting for the person, that you're just collecting signatures and allow them to run. And here is what your petitions generally kind of look like. Okay. And at this point, I'm going to throw it over to Theo for him to kind of share some stuff. Okay.
Thank you, Aisha.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that he can share his.
So I'll share mine. I'll be very quick. Basically, we built a tool called Rep My Block, which is basically a petition generator where we make running for committee person, whether anywhere in the state of New York, very easily, very easy. So this is a non-partisan website built with Republican folks, with Democratic folks, with conservative folks who all, basically this is a potluck of information on getting on the committee and helping get on. So the website is very simple. It's called Rep My Blog because it represents my blog. So you represent your blog, but so it's Rep My Blog. And we explain basically everything we went through. There is a documentary that's on PBS right now that explains the biggest secret. You can click on it and watch it on PBS. There is the organizational video on how it works in New York City. And Aisha will add the new video from you today in there for upstate. He explained that you can verify your voter registration, what it takes to petition. There is Paperboy Love Prince that explain that in
That's
20
right.
seconds.
Right now, it's time to change this world and change this city forever. For simple, you put the date here, you print your name, then you sign your name, write the address where you're registered, and boom, that's it. That simple. Having some fun.
So this is how simple it is to collect a signature. Then there is the paperwork filing that explain, etc., etc. So that is what the tool is to explain to people how to get on the committee, what it is, and you let them discover to those who want to discover, who are more of the independent type, who likes to do their homework by themselves. So let's say you decided to run. So you create a username, and this is it. This is all you have to do. It tells you how many Republican. So you fill out who you are. You put your name. So I'm using Michael Zablanska registration. You fill in your voter profile. So you type your name, your date of birth, and it checks out that you're registered as a Republican to make sure that you are authorized. You are basically, you have everything ready for you to be. If it's not, you can go back at the Board of Election and fix your registration. Then you get another screen where you say, hey, what positions are available for me to run in New York State? So because we're talking about committee, the county committee, that's the only position you have. But if you want to run for mayor or anything else, you just send us an email and we'll update the system to allow you to see all the other positions available in New York State. So you say, I want to run for the Republican Party County Committee, and you are presented with the profile. You can fill it up. You don't, that's your problem. That's your decision. And you save it, and suddenly you go to the summary, and it tells you your assembly district is 76, your electoral district is 37. If you live outside of New York City, we'll say the town, and it will tell you how many Republican in your district. In this case, 188. It tells you how many signatures you need and how many days you have until the end of the petitioning. Then after that, you have the download screen. So you get again the video of Paperboy, and you get a blank petition. And boom, you're done. This is the paperwork that you need to collect signature. So it tells you you're the candidate, Michael Zablanska, you live in the 37 district. Here is a blank sheet, but you need people to go knock on door. So we also give you the walking sheet. These are all the Republicans that live in that district. So all you need is to figure out in those 7 pages of document, 10 people. And I'm sure that in every neighborhood, you know 10 people on that list. So you already done 90% of the work. But these are the people who can sign. If their name is not on that list, basically it's an invalid signature. So that is the simplicity of the tool. Basically, that is it. What it gets interesting is because committeemen are influencer, and we influence the way we do politics. You can combine petition with other position within the party within your district. So you would collect one signature, but you can collect it for the mayor, for council member, for a district leader, for anyone. So as you can see here on this petition, there is 3 names or 3 fake names. And so every petition would, the signature you would collect through your neighbor for you to be on the ballot would also give those people on that petition the same signature. So you collect 1 signature and you get multiple people. So if you know someone you want to see for mayor, so you want someone for city council, town council, whatever, you can go see that person and say, listen, I want to collect a signature for you and for me. And you can work out a deal where you have influence, and you say that's where the influence come, because when you go get those signature, that's 10 signature that person, 10 signature less that person need to collect. They know that you as a committee person are going to collect those signature for them. And that's where the influence part of this committee person come from, by collecting signature for other candidate as well. So that's basically the tool. Very simple, very easy, and hopefully I didn't cause more question than I answer. And back to you, Aisha.
Aisha, you're muted.
All right, hold on 1 second. Let me come back
Any-
over here, and I'm going to share my screen. And so again, that petition, right? He has it. So those of you who are like, hey, if you can't get one, right, you can reach out to us. And again, same thing, public party position, you know, and you can also go on the Board of Elections and get the petition. So every year, right? So you can go over there, put in that you're looking for a designated petition. And again, you can reach out to any of us if that happens. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to your committee, you're letting them know that you're interested in running, and they're gonna give you the petition, right? So you don't have to worry about doing that. But again, these are just tools that we want to make sure that everybody has. So at that, are there any questions from what we just went over? I think there were some hands up.
I see a hand up. Edwin's hand is up.
I think Sash had a hand up too, but
Yes,
yeah,
she did earlier.
I don't know where.
Yes, hi. I'm Edwin de la Cruz. I'm the district leader that was spoken about by Theo. Theo, thank you very much for this presentation, and Yisha also. In case anyone wants to sign up for Read My Blog, I do have an account open, and I'll be more than happy to guide them and sponsor them as well. So all they need to do is just send me an email, edwin@nycrepublicans.org. Very easy to remember. So send me. I'm going to also post that in the chat room. And thank you
Yes.
very much for a very, very helpful presentation. New York County, by the way, it's not, it's a different animal.
It
Okay,
is.
so, I mean, New York County is just completely, I mean, the CIA has more information available to the public than the New York New York County GOP. They are more, I mean, you have to sue them in court. The Board of Elections and the New York Republican Party, in order to get anything from them. If I were to send in a bylaw request, this ain't going to happen. I'm going to have to get a lawyer. I'm going to have to go to court. And those are the challenges that you have, because I really do suspect that those bylaws, which I never seen a copy of, they are actually designed to, they are prepared and crafted to keep whoever is in the establishment. So there's no challenges. And
Yeah.
it's not the way it's supposed. It's very sad, but New York County has a reputation on a national basis. It's not just here, but everybody knows about the challenges of New York State, of New York County, especially.
And Edwin, he said he was going to put his.
I have no help.
Yep, he's a district leader. That's what I was gonna wanted to just point out. He was gonna do some of the other presentation, but he had some stuff that he had to do. So if he puts his contact information in the chat, he is a district leader, so he was able to, work himself in there. If you're in that area, to please reach out to him with any questions that you might have for that New York City area and how he might have went about doing that. Like I said, each part of the state, each county is different, each town is different. So again, we want, the Conservative Party is super transparent. They're amazing. You can go right on the Conservative Party website. You can see who all of their chairmen are, who's on their executive committee, all of those different things. So every party has its own ways of doing things, its own challenges, again. But as you continue the process, if you need help, or, again, if you find yourselves in just, information is there. And if we can't answer the question, we will help either maybe, like, sometimes people can't figure out who their chairman is for their town, or, and maybe you need, or when do they meet, or something like that. If you need that type of help, you reach out to us. And if we don't know the answer, we will find someone that knows the answer and try to help you to navigate that system in the proper order. And we're going to get into some of that as well. Sash had her hand up. Was there anybody else besides Sash that wanted to talk? I'm gonna let her go first, and then anybody else, and then we're gonna move on to the next part of the presentation.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. So my question is no dumb questions, but
That's right.
just like basic. I'm on my town's page website. Who do I engage there to determine if there are open committeeman seats in my own town, and how do I start the very basic first step of this process?
Great question. Yeah, so I mean, I mean, that's what I do. I reach out to the chairman first, to see, sometimes they're busy and they don't get to you. But if the chairman is on there, if sometimes they just have like an info at, general one, send it to both the chairman and that general one and say, hey, I'm interested in getting on the committee, or coming to a committee meeting to see if it's something that I'd be interested in. And at that point, somebody should get back to you. If they don't get back to you, right? Again, especially it's holiday season, you get into things. If they don't, you might want to try again. Or again, that might be when you want to reach out to one of us, and maybe, we have different names of different committee members in different various areas. So we might know the chairman. If there's a phone number, you might have to call them, right? They have the general phone number that's on the website. But I mean, that's really how you have to get started. If you already know you said you were on the page, so you probably don't know someone who's on your committee already. And then you just start calling and saying, all right.
And I like to be different. And so I tend to, and depending on where you live, it may work for you or not. So me personally, I just kind of rolled up in my town hall and said, here I am. Where's the meeting? And just put myself in. So there's multiple ways of doing it. It's kind of feeling out what's around for it. And so I kind of play well, I didn't know, so sorry, code. Because sometimes some meetings are also open to the public and some are not. And that's something we didn't hit on in here. So that's key as to also whether you can get into a meeting or not, as to whether their bylaws say they're open to the public or they're not.
Okay. And then another quick question that I had, I met people just in passing that said, oh, I'm a committeeman in my town, or I just started this last year. I just learned about it and I joined last year. Very new to this structure. And what do they feel like they don't do anything. They met once, they never really got to create a vibe or really understand the full potential of the role. So if you are how do you know if you're in an underperforming committee that wants to kind of, like Edwin said, keep things the way they've been, which is the problem? How do you invigorate, or, even know what you are? Because I'll say I run into this with our school board members. I feel like they have so much more authority and leverage than they stand on, right? And they just don't use the full scope of what they're capable of doing. And that's kind of
So-
what I've heard about the committee.
So,
What I-
yeah, so if I can, just real quick. So I will say that is edging into that 201 training.
Right.
Just so you know. So I mean, we'll touch on it, maybe answer just very quickly on some of the things, but I would say, you know, at the very end, maybe we'll come back to that because that's kind of getting into a little bit more strategy versus this overall type of thing. Again, that 201 training of when you're on your committee, what do you do in those situations? And that's kind of, you know, we really get into that in the training in that part. And
Okay.
so I don't want to like throw it off, but again, if you know, and I'll say, I'm going to say like 30 seconds. If Theo or Cherie or anybody else want to say like 30 seconds on that as well. And then we're going to go to this last screen and then we can come back to it just because we're just at our time. We're doing really well though. So I'm super stoked about that. But if you find yourself, if you're on a committee and like you said, you feel like they're not meeting, they're not doing anything. If it was me, right, that's when I start finding out who else is on my committee and start making phone calls and whipping votes for various things and saying, what can we do to start utilizing? So that's going to be my little 30-second plug without getting too far into the weeds of things. And I don't know if Theo or Cherie want to say something to that.
All I
I
wanted,
would just add to, you're new, you don't know, refer to your bylaws because that is everything. I cannot stress enough that you need to read your bylaws because if you're feeling like something's not happening, the bylaws are going to guide you.
and I was just going to conclude gaslighting. If you feel they're gaslighting you, they probably are. So like Cherie said, the bylaws is number one. And if you feel that they're telling you something is not happening, they've done it to me for the first 3 years and I figure it out. And now they stop gaslighting. So if you feel gaslighting, probably they are. And that's where Committee 202 or 201 is
201
for.
code.
Is
Yes.
the strategy to fight that gaslighting.
Yes. And again, or, you know, and to be more engaged. So just as you see here, they just mentioned it, right? It's in big letters, get to know the bylaws. That is your
Yes.
number one. So this section are do's and don'ts, right? So and that is once you pass your petitions, you get on your committee. And again, because typically every district has open seats. Okay, just so that's why I'm saying. And once you get your signatures, you pass your petition. Again, Chip was on earlier. Phyllis mentioned it, right? You could be in a section where you've been coming to your meetings. You're not an actual voting member yet until you pass your petitions and the election November comes and goes, right? That's when you're actually truly a voting member when you're and you have to be in that 2-year cycle. So my cycle for passing my petitions was last year. So I'm in a 2-year. Cherie is in Monroe County. They're passing petitions this year to be on your committee. So if you're on an odd year in your county, you're going to be passing the petitions and you can get on your committee. And the other way we mentioned it, we fluffed over it a little bit, just because is you can be appointed to your committee as well. So if you get on your committee and you go into your meetings and they're like, oh, it's an off year, right? So you don't pass the petitions, but your chairman can appoint you. That committee can appoint you. So then you can still be a voting member. And you also can be an associate member where you're not a voting member because maybe there's only 5 open seats, or, I mean, there's no open seats in your town, but they still want you to come to the meetings and participate and be part of it. So you can be there, but when they go to vote on something, your vote doesn't technically count, but you're still like an associate member. If maybe somebody can't show up that is a voting member, they can give you a proxy. But again, that kind of goes into 201 training as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can do things, but getting to know your
I-
bylaws. Once
Just
you're
throw in a precursor, Aisha, I'm sorry. When you get appointed on your committee, it sounds like we make it sound really simple, like, oh, your committee says you can join. There is a few more steps in between that before you're officially on your committee. So you want to make sure you follow back up with that if you do it under the appointment
yeah,
to
and
ensure
again,
that you got it.
and you want to know your bylaws because it's different, right? Some, what she's alluding to, I don't want to get into it too much, just again, that's more 201, but some of them, it has to then go to your county chairman to approve. Some do, some don't. It's all different. Know your bylaws, know your bylaws, know your bylaws, know your bylaws. How you conduct yourself in a meeting, again, Robert's Rules of Order is basically, you want to know and learn those. And if you follow that, you're probably going to be in good step. Now, usually I have Eric on here, and I want to say when you first get to there, you don't have to be a yes man, right? Where you go along with everything. But I mean, you want respect. They want respect. So finding the ways to do that, right? You don't want to be like a bull in a china shop going in there and just being like, I hate everything, right? I mean, you want to say, okay, let's see how this goes. But at the same time, and I'm going to use this example, when I went to my very first ever Republican committee meeting back in 2009, 2008, maybe, I went in, I lived in a very big city. I was like, what in the world is going on here? I'm a Republican. So again, I know we're people from all over, but they were voting on whether or not to march in the gay pride parade. And I was like, am I like in the wrong, like, committee? Like, is this the Socialist Club or the Democrat Club or something? Because I didn't know, and everybody was just quiet and not, going along with what was being presented. And one person said point of order and said something. And until that moment, I was going to leave that meeting and never come back. Because I was like, this isn't, everybody just agreed with everything that was going on. Nobody said anything. And I was like, oh, I can't be part of that. I want to be able to have discussions and stuff. And so the gentleman, Eric, his name is Eric Carlson, he stood up, he did it in a respectful way. And then a conversation ensued. And I'm like, oh, great. And in the end, they voted no. But even if they would have voted yes, at least I knew that, oh, you can ask for a conversation because until that point, everybody was just saying yes, yes, yes. And I was like, no, that's not for me. And again, that might be for some people. So again, you want to do things in order. You want to follow the process the best that you can. And you can only do that if you know the bylaws. You have to know the platform of the party that you're in, right? As well, you don't want to be bullied. Don't bully other people. I mentioned whipping votes, right? You could go whip votes for something that maybe you want your committee to do. If you want something to change, that's, that's what we do. That's part of the process. You go, you call them up. Can we have coffee? Da, da, da. Hey, this, that, and the other thing, right? And, you're speaking up and you're sharing with them. Hey, this is why I think we should vote a certain way, right? You're not being like, oh, they're all a bunch of losers. And, again, bullying. We just want to work in a way that is mutually respectful. So that's what I would say as far as your basic outline of how you want to conduct yourself in a meeting. For anyone that's on here, again, if you're interested in becoming a committeeman, register to vote. If you're not registered to vote, register in a party, a specific party, if you're not already in a specific party, whatever party you think needs to be changed, fixed, or you just want to be, or maybe you love it, right? Which is great too. And you just want to be a better part of that. You need to be registered for that. Find out who your county and town chairmen are and reach out to them and, get their contact information. Find your local meeting, let them know, hey, I want to be involved. And you find your local meeting and you start going. If those things, anything is out of order in that, you reach out to one of us and we can hopefully help you to make that process smoother. Or again, if you feel like you're being shut out or some other thing, again, as we were talking about New York City and other places, then we are here to help. And then with that said, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with this, but I'm gonna stop sharing. The next one is question and answers again.
And we have Kim with her hand up again.
Yep, I saw Kim with her hand up, so I wanted to.
Is there a list somewhere of what counties carry petitions in what years? Like who does the odd years, who does the even years?
No.
Uh,
Well, it depends on your party. What
Yes.
party you're in.
So I-
Conservative Party, yes. Oh, go ahead, Theo.
Aisha, I just wanted to say this is where the potluck version of Rep My Block is about. There is a way to figure it out. Basically, it's called the party call. So every party needs to tell the Board of Election about a week before the petitioning start what the party call looks like. And that's where the party will define every rules, every election that the party has in the primary. The judges, the county committee, the town committee, anything that has a primary is in the party call. And the problem is that the party people will have work on that party call for 3 or 4 months. So they already know what the deal is inside between themselves. But the public only discovered that party call a week before petitioning. So that means Rep My Block, what we're trying to do with the non-partisan thing is over the year is to collect all the party call from every county. So we figure out what the stage of the party is actually doing. So if you need help in getting at asking for those documents from the Board of Election, we're here. Rep My Block can help you with that, and we would love to work with anyone who will be willing to go get those documents out of the Board of Election.
Yeah, there's only about in the Republican Party, the odd year, because 2025, there's like 11 counties that will be passing petitions. Most of the counties passed last year, and there's just these outliers in the Republican Party where they are, like, again, Monroe County, I know, passes this year. And then it might not even be 11 counties. It might only be like 5 or 6 or 9
I think
or
it's
something like that.
I think it's like 8.
Yeah, there's not that many. So most counties already passed last year in the Republican side. Conservative Party is very easy to find out if you're a member of the Conservative Party. They're very open and transparent. So they'll be able to, you can just, again, it's probably right on their website for whatever county that you're going to go to. They open it up. So I used to keep track, kind of like, I'm glad Theo, he's doing that. I know there's people that are counting. If you want to know if your county is passing this year, or if again, you might just you could go get on to be appointed. But if you want to know, again, reach out to one of us and we can help you look into that. Okay. I know that's probably not the answer that you would like, but.
And you could always take the route of contacting your county Board of Elections office and ask them, say, I want to join can I pass a petition? Is this petition?
We're trying to find it for the whole state so that we can figure out which counties to focus on this upcoming cycle. So I know Suffolk is, I know the city is, I know Monroe, I think Nassau is. Trying to figure out if there's a couple more.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
where you want to focus in 2025. Right. So, because if they're not passing petitions, then you're not going to teach somebody, they can learn it, but they can't do it until the following year if it's a different county. That's why I wondered if there was a list.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Kim, I just put on the chat the link to the Rep My Block where all the document we collect over the years from the Board of Election.
Okay.
And anything that has a PC next to it is the party call that will have the detail on how each party, Conservative, Republican, Democrat, is doing it.
Okay. So
Yep.
when you say, I'm, are you saying party call, CALL?
Mhm.
Yes. It's the
Yes.
party call, and you will see it in the, it is handled by county and or by the state. The state only does the one that is for the whole state. So for example, the judges and anything that has to do with statewide thing is done by the state. Otherwise, it is done by the county.
Okay.
But if
Yeah.
you want, we can talk on the phone out offline, and I can go over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll put my number in the chat and I'll grab yours. I think you put yours in there. Yeah, because I'm with Project Civica and we're trying to focus on this year. Is, you know, it's the way for civility and normalcy across the state. Common sense to bring it back is this whole process within the bottom up.
The only thing I will say about Board of Election is they're run by the leadership of the Democratic and the Republican. So they will sit on a FOIL request for the maximum length of time that sometime you will not get. You have to ask for 3 times for the same document before they even give it to you.
If people haven't already, I highly recommend you get training on the FOIL process from the New York Coalition for Open Government. Anne-Marie.
No, but I understand.
No, I'm just saying she has us like that. In other words, you don't ask for the same document 3 times. You immediately appeal. You immediately do. If they don't respond with a certain amount of time, that's actually
We
a
agree.
denial.
We
right.
agree.
So I'm just saying
but
that
the petition time is over by the time you get to court for your appeal.
Right.
So,
no, I get what you're saying. You got to do it early.
It's
Exactly.
a game.
If we could just,
And
that's kind of like jumping.
Yep. And I will say, just real quick on that. But, you know, one of the tricks of the trade as well, if you are a Democrat and you're trying to get, especially, you know, and I'm just talking within this process right here, you know, again, if you're a registered Democrat, Republican, you want to know, you are entitled to, right? You can go to Board of Elections and say, I want a list of all of the committeemen in my county, right? As long as you're registered as a Republican, Democrat, Republican, or conservative in that county. But you have to be very specific. You can say, I want a list of all of the committeemen and any open seats, right? And they'll give it to you. It's usually like $5, $10 for the CD, or, you know, they'll give you a big file that will slow your computer down for 200 hours so that you can open it. But with that said, you ask for it, right? Because we're talking about FOIL. If I go to the Republican Party in some counties, not all, okay? So again, this is just, you have to know your county and get to know it. They may not give it to you. But trick of the trade is, the county I used to live in, they wouldn't give it to me. I went to the Democrats. They gave it to me. If you're a Democrat, they won't give it to you. Go to the Republicans. They'll give
Exactly.
it to you. So again, there's a lot of different ways to skin the same cat if you wind up being in these positions, right? And again, hopefully, you know, I think that most of our leadership is, you know, hopefully transparent enough. You don't see this type of issue again in a lot of the conservative party type of structure, but there is a way around each one of these, just like Kim said, just like Theo said, right? It's just about knowing who it is, what those processes is going to be, and getting to the right person. I think that Kim, like she said, that FOIL, if you don't know about the FOIL process, the pre-training, right? You want to take those things, it's another tool in your tool belt, so that if and when you need these things, that you have it. So, any other questions?
And Aisha, I just want to say, the Frederick Douglass Foundation has a reputation. Rep My Block now has a reputation that when they hear our names mentioned, they tend to know that we come like big elephant and we move them to do the right thing and to disclose everything.
Yeah.
So you can throw our name around and you'll see we tested it, so it works. Great work, Aisha.
Yeah, and you know, and again, and it's all just about giving everybody, you know, I'm always going to go back to this. Our founding fathers were brilliant. They were brilliant human beings. And they literally gave us, we the people, the power. And the problem is we don't know how to use it. We don't take it seriously. We aren't, we don't advocate for ourselves the way that we should. And we don't understand the civic process. This process is so simple. Again, took us an hour and a half. We're in Q&A, so we're over it, but we did really well on the time, right? Having a 201 and a 301 training, should we need those type of things? Not really, right? But there's the strategies that go along with, because there's so much that we have to unpeel. But at least it really is a government for the people, by the people, because our founding fathers set the system up, and there's no way that we can be kept out of it if we engage it. And so I just, think that it's very important that we have open transparency, that we're open, that we're transparent, and we have accountability. And if you do that in your county, in your city, right, local activism is the most important thing that we can do. If you're looking at the national scene or the state scene and saying it's too much, then focus on your committee. You can take over your committee very easily if you're in one of these positions that those folks were talking about, right? I have a great committee. I get along with the people on my committee. We don't all always agree, but people want to do stuff. They want to move things forward. I don't have to worry about some of the things that we were talking about here with where I'm at now. But my old committee, I did, but you held them accountable. And so it shouldn't be scary. It shouldn't be anything, too out of the blue. And then sometimes people just get stuck in a rut, right? They're used to doing the same thing all the time, right? Same people are there. You're passing the same petition to the same 12 people, and you're never going out and doing your duty as a true committeeman. But when you start doing that, it's a beautiful thing, and you get engaged in the process. So
I want to just add to everyone too. We tend to focus on what's wrong and what's broken instead of seeing how maybe it went wrong and got broken. And as we sit here and we talk about the committees and getting on the committees, the people that are sitting on these committees are not necessarily trying to do anything wrong. They were brought in and never had the chance to sit and have a class like this to understand how it works. And so therefore they don't understand that they're not doing it the proper way. So you can get into your committees if you've educated yourself, which is why the key is these bylaws. And you can actually change your whole committee simply by sharing that information and that knowledge because you did some education and taught yourself. And it doesn't always have to be the bull in the china shop approach. It's simply explaining, but this is what it says, and this is what this means, and this is how this works. Because a lot of them don't know. So when I joined my committee, I found out, it was a lot of older retired people that didn't really understand what they were supposed to be doing. They didn't know. Some did, but a lot didn't. And it wasn't their fault. And having that education and knowing and being able to respectfully explain it to them has changed the dynamics a lot. So I think that we need to keep that in mind as well, because people genuinely are decent people by nature. They do these things because they wanted to help and be fulfilled and say they left something, not because they wanted to be nefarious of what we have kind of seen and the world has kind of changed to us for. So I just want to keep that in mind going in.
Yeah. And are there any other questions? Before we, again, we're right at the hour and a half, which is awesome. I do want to say, so again, we were talking about Frederick Douglass Foundation and Frederick Douglass Freedom Alliance. We do a lot of these type of programmings, trainings, stuff like this, as well as other, working with other organizations, groups, getting people plugged in. You want to become a member, you can go to fdfnational.org or fdfalliance.org and become a member or donate. And we try to do as much programming as we can is for free, right? That's our goal, is because not everybody has the money. So if you have the money to donate, awesome. If not, that's awesome as well. We will be sending out after this a follow-up, like email, like just a little questionnaire. You know, it's like 7, 8 questions to ask what you thought of the training. That helps us to build better better programming every time we do something that you think was good, bad, stuff like that. So I just wanted to put that little plug in there. Before I ask one last time, if there's any other questions, comments, or concerns.
Thank you very much,
Aisha,
Aisha.
whoops.
Thank you.
Aisha, thank you. This is Phyllis. I just want to kind of piggyback on what Cherie was saying about don't go into wanting to be a member of your committee with fear. The best thing that you can do is ask questions. If you have something that you don't understand, more than likely, in my experience, other committee members really don't know their role either. And sometimes your committee chair or your committee leader, depending on how your county structure is, they have not educated their committee members enough. And it's not because they haven't wanted to, but it's because they haven't been educated enough. And though this committeeman training is critical, especially in this day and age, because for so long Republicans were they were complacent in their establishment and just following along. But we have a party that we're fighting on a regular basis, that they seem to know how to play the game. And we sit back and we think that we're okay, but we get beat every time, at least here in Monroe County. And we need to figure out how to play the game better, but we need to be trained better in that respect. So always ask questions. That's the first thing that people need to know.
Absolutely. Train better. 201, 301. You want more? That's 2. We will totally get you into the next strategy session. The 301 goes way into the weeds with some serious strategy. But again, if that's your type of thing, kind of what she's talking about, in the places that need to be checked and held accountable, we want to help you to be able to do that. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. We know that it is precious, and blessings, and have a great night. Enjoy your families, and thank you so much.
See you next year.
Bye, all.
Yes.
Thank
you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you. Perfect.
All right.